Alright, we're going to take apart one of these iRobot Roombas. Now, as you can see here, this one right here is a lot older than this one. This one here is Bluetooth capable, Wi-Fi connects to your, house, router, all the other stuff. You can control, from half a world away. Doesn't matter. This one's a lot quieter. In my opinion, it picks up more dog hair or whatever you got in your house than this one here. Even though this is the pet series, this one's a lot louder. It's a lot older. It's about 5 years old. And, well, it still works. And so I do run both of them at the same time. And what's funny about these is that they actually will use each other's docking station when they're done needing a charge. So let's go ahead and break this one open. The tools you'll need are these. Just 3 regular old Phillips head screwdrivers. You may even just get away with just using this, but you'll see why I made it, why you're going to need this one to do it. First thing you want to do is go ahead and remove this. When we break this thing down and actually clean the whole thing, you'll understand why you need to clean this one. This is the suction portion of the vacuum, if you will. As you can see, I ran it yesterday, and it's got a lot of dust and debris. We'll get to that here in a minute. I'll set this guy off to the side. Now, first thing you're going to need to do is remove the rotating brush. Come on, man, get there. All right. Keep the screw with it. Sometimes you're going to get some hair wrapped around that, but for this instance, we don't have any hair. I'll put you right. We'll put you there. Next, 4 screws. They'll usually stay with the part in and of itself. So we're going to put that off to there. Next, pull the battery out. This is not the original battery. My battery lasted 5 years, and this one has a little more power to it. Since this is a complete disassembly, you can start anywhere at really any time. First, we're going to start with the tray here. Now, this one holds all the brushes, so you can, if you want, you can take the brushes out. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So you can take the brushes out like that. We'll get to the dirt and debris in a minute. So, I'll point out something right here. You may be able to see. I'll show it here later, more in depth. This is the debris and dirt sensor, and I'll show you that part here in a second. All right, next, 4 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing has been apart many times. I've replaced every single component in this thing, everything, and it comes out just like this. Notably, I want to show you something real quick. These screws might fall out, but there's a connector right here that goes in there, and sometimes if your brushes aren't moving, this connector is popped out of the assembly, and we'll break down this carriage tray later. There's a rotating brush motor. Looks like 2 screws right here. Use a smaller screwdriver to pull them out. This thing is really cool because it's really modular, and you can see down there where the connections are made, and here I'll show you real quick. Down there in the middle looks like a battery connector. It's spring loaded, so it pops up. Next thing is we're going to remove this rotating front wheel housing. So you just pop that up, set the wheel off to the side, and there's 2 small screws deep in there. Keep the screws handy because they do not have any replacements. And you just yank up, and there's still a lot of dirt in there, as you can see. And then push that to the side. Next thing, what we're going to do is we're going to move, luckily, I don't know if you can see there, it says R for right, L for left. I guess you know where they're going to go. So, there are 1, 2, 3 screws. There's one next to right here. Pops up just like that. And of course, this one has got another connector. I don't know what type connector that is, but as you can see right there, that goes in there and makes the motor go whee. Next thing, same thing on the left. Now, as you can see now, this thing is fully disassembled. Now, you could remove these screws here. I wouldn't, because there's no reason to. Now what you can do is you take a can of, compressed air, spray it out, or shop air if you got it. I don't have anything because I'm in my house right now. So what I'm going to do is just going to, off camera, just take a light brush and just brush all that stuff out. And then I'll take apart the other pieces. Right, off camera, I clean as best as I can with no compressed air, the body of the iRobot in and of itself. Now we're going to clean out and disassemble this part. Very easy. Now, since this is an older version of this thing, the gate here is kind of loosey-goosey. It is what it is. Anyways, and then the filter. Now you can replace these filters usually every 6 months as they recommend. Or what I do is I put soap and water on it, clean it out and let it dry. That does the same thing. Saves you a few dollars, giving it to Jeff Bezos and Amazon. So there's that. We'll put that guy to the side, clean it off camera. Next thing you want to do is there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And just as easy as anything else, you just take them off like that. And just like that, she's out. And of course, off camera, I'm going to clean this in the sink. We all know how to wash something in the sink. Don't need to show you how to do that. Next thing, pull this piece off. Don't have to clean it, really. Just gonna set it to the side. And you see, this is the suction portion of the motor, the vacuum portion. Because as the tray scoops up dirt and debris off the floor, it gets sucked into here, into that filter. And as you see, it collects all sorts of nasty crap. Small little screw right there comes out. Fairly easy. Then the motor should slide right out. There you go. Now obviously you use a light brush or a compressed air to blow the debris out of there. Do not put it underneath water. I shouldn't have to say that. You're pretty smart out there, I would assume. Then this piece comes out with the spring. Make sure all the pieces stay together. So there's that portion. So you can take these portions right here, toss them in the sink, and give them a nice clean. It's a slight camera error, so I'll show you how to remove the brush assembly from the tray. So essentially you just pop this out, get an X-Acto knife or a screwdriver, whatever. Do that. Pop that guy out of the tray right there. And you can pull it out. As you can see, there's some Post-it notes there that are holding the electrical connector down. That's normal for this model anyways. Then if you want to put it back together, you just do this. Put it down in there, make your Post-it notes are down there correctly, and it snaps in like that. As you can see, there are 4 screws right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what we're going to do here is you remove all 4 of them. You don't need to remove these 2. If you remove these 2, you can remove the whole plate, and I'll show you that later. You just pop it off. And that's it. Now, I want to show you something real quick. For troubleshooting, let's say your blades aren't moving correctly, or excuse me, your brushes and the rubber sweeper. What happens is that these plastic gears get worn out. So, as you can see here, you can move this. Let me get a bigger screwdriver here. You can move this like that, and the brushes move. Now, if you're not putting enough torque on it, you think, oh, okay, well, this whole gearbox works. And then you put everything back together, and guess what? It doesn't. So guess what? This means the gears are bad. That means you're not putting enough torque on it. So, but that's basically it. And I'll go ahead and clean up everything up off camera, and then we'll put everything back together. Okay, first, we're going to put the debris catcher back together first. Now, I just cleaned it fairly well with some soap and water, mild soap, warm water. That's all it usually takes. You don't even have to go that far. You can just brush it out and call it good, but First thing you want to do, put this back here. Next, you're going to get your motor, and this doesn't have to go in just yet. You put that off to the side. You're going to slap this sucker right into these grooves, flip it over, Make sure the spring and the connector is all handy dandy right there. Grab your screw, put it right there. You can use a Big Daddy #2 Phillips head screwdriver and screw it in until you hear a breaking sound. You test it and see if it works. Yep, spring-loaded action. Next, go ahead and drop this sucker in. You can tell when you're doing it right, when you got a nice groove on here all the way across. If it doesn't, it'll look like that, and you know you're wrong. Next, go ahead and grab your plastic cover here. Now, since this is worn out, I don't have to put this in just yet. I can wait. Normally, if your Roomba is new and you're going to do a full clean, you would put that in first. But since I don't have to, and it's sacked out, whatever, you go ahead and put this cover back in there. Get out of there. Go ahead and put your screws, nope, wrong screws. Go ahead and put your screws in. There should be 6. And number 6. And then go ahead and screw them in. Crisscross pattern, doesn't matter. And it looks like all the screws are in there. Next, you can put the door on. Like I said, it's worn out, so all I have to do is this. When it's in. That one, my friends, is complete. We'll put you right there. Next, we'll put the tray back in. Put the screw in. Put the screw in. Find your lanyard. Put your post-it notes in to make sure that electrical connector stays firm. Slap those in. And then most importantly, your next thing you're going to do is get some electrical tape. I got some electrical tape here. Going to use this and cut it with an X-Acto knife. And then cut some more here. We're going to go, that's about enough. Alright. Then take your electrical connector. Electrical tape. Not an electrician here. So we did the right thing by using electrical tape. Not for its intended purpose, but whatever. Alright. There you go. As you can see, I forgot to put this in. Because, I don't know what you're expecting. But anyways. Not a problem. You just slip the sucker over that. Over the gear. Put that down right there. And you take your 4 handy dandy screws. Now there's 2 different sizes. 3 large ones go here. 1, 2, and number 3. This little guy goes right there. Like the ambient noise I got going on there. The dishwasher is humming away. All right, that is it. So then we pop this puppy down like so. Making sure our post-it notes are still doing its intended job. There you go. There we go. Good as new. Next, we put everything back in its case. There's really no order here, other than you want to make sure you have everything in here first, even the battery too. So we'll do that. Actually, we'll do that last because it'll start to make all sorts of sounds. You'll see here. Watch this. Yay. Okay. So that's a good check to see if everything is working still, and it still does. Now, like I said, didn't matter how you put it back in, so we're going to go this route first. We're going to put this little guy back in its slot. And tighten them down to good and tight, good German torque. Or until you hear an expensive crunch. That's always a good thing too. Next, we're going to take this little guy. There's always going to be some residual hair, regardless of what you do. Put him in there. Now, I want to show you something. See, you could still get the screws with the screwdriver if you move this ring around. So we're going to find our little screws that we lost. We didn't lose. and then you go to town. Tighten them down to an expensive crunch. Go ahead and push that thing in till you hear like a snap or two, or a crunch. And you know it works. Next thing, we're going to put the wheels back in. Now, again, very easy. They don't fit. Even though they say left and right, they're not going to fit in the wrong spot. So you just go, put him in there, screw it around 3 times. Bam. All right. Uh-oh, I need that. All right, next. As again, even though I got the Post-it notes back there to make sure this thing stays in, I'm going to make sure that electrical connector goes in, or we'll have to tear this thing apart again. It looks like it did. 4 screws. These ones are a little loose, but that doesn't matter. The cover will keep everything together. These are just a formality. Let's see. Next, the battery. Very muy importante. Next, the cover. 4 screws. Torque them down to the manufacturer's specifications, or until you hear an expensive crunch. Or what you do is you start to tighten them down until they start to loosen again, and you're good. Next, this sweeper arm. 1 little screw. And put him back in. There you go. Next, the brushes. Very easy. The smaller one that's rubberized goes right here. Just got to find the hole. And it's keyed in because both of them are square. Gonna put that in there. Give them a nice little tug. Okay, everything seems to be working. Go and shut that. Now I'm not gonna run it because the filter is still drying, so I'm just gonna put the sucker back in. And we'll do a maintenance operational check. What I've done here is removed the vacuum portion of it to see if the brushes move. So we're gonna see if they move. And they do. And we'll see if they actually works again. Next, we'll see if this thing actually goes to its home. And that is how to disassemble a iRobot, clean it, and put it back together. If you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the squawk box below. Be nice. I know that's asking a lot. And that's it for Lazlo's Garage, tearing apart your iRobot.